This place that we're going to dive into is a critical component of intuitive eating, is making peace with food. So, depending on how long you've restricted, how long you've dieted, how long you've been withholding or experiencing guilt and judgment on what you've eating, depends really where you range with how much you need to make peace with food. It might not even be something that's occurred to you up until this point. The idea that you are in relationship with food, we think about that so often with another person, right? And we want to have peace with that person. Maybe it's our spouse or our sibling, someone, a friend. We want to have peace with them. Well, think about that for a moment. What does peace look like in a relationship? Maybe some thoughts come up for you. Maybe it's that when I have peace in a relationship, I don't worry how often we're together. Whenever we're together, it's good. We can go a while without talking, pick right back up where we are. When I have peace in a relationship with another person, I don't feel so stressed when I'm around them. It's easy. It's really easy. I can tell them anything, they can tell me anything. What does peace in that relationship look like? If you have a peaceful relationship in your life, again, maybe it's with your spouse, what does that look like? I can just be me. I can just put on the sweatpants, take the bra off. Who cares about makeup and hair? I'm just totally me. But sometimes if I want to be all fancy, they like that too. I don't have that high level of stress being around them, or I don't feel that I have to perform in that relationship. I want you to draw on those places. If you can draw from a peaceful relationship in real life, a person, I want you to think about that because you are in relationship to food. We do have a relationship, and oftentimes, and the reason we find ourselves in this space is we don't have a peaceful one. Dieting does not create an environment of peace with food. In fact, I believe it actually encourages a destructive relationship with food. And part of that is there isn't this unconditional, I have all my notes here. Sorry if I keep looking down there. I want to make sure I cover all my points today. It doesn't create an unconditional permission to eat. Any diet, whether it's something very systematic or in our head, I need to restrict this, I need to limit this, I need to not have what carbohydrates. If you grew up in the 80s, it was fat, right? Either way, a system, a program, right? Or just I need to restrict this. We don't have unconditional permission to eat. I even want you to take that in for a moment. What does that look like if you had unconditional permission to eat? What are the first thoughts that come up for you? Oftentimes, what I hear in that is if I have unconditional permission to eat, I'm going to eat everything. Right? We think that those two thoughts are like an equation, right? For math, right? If I have unconditional permission to eat, it automatically equals I eat everything. We're actually going to show, first of all, how that's not true and put some things in practice to help you resolve that thought. Having unconditional permission to eat actually has the opposite effect of I'm going to eat everything. It actually reduces the desire, the thrill, the need to eat everything. There's a couple of theories and practices behind that. I want to share a few of those with you. So, dietary restraint theory is really where if you have been in restriction, right, restraining yourself, holding back, and you break those food rules, again, whether it's a program one or self-imposed rules, research shows you will end up in this cycle that I'm going to share with you in a minute. No longer having the restriction is what breaks the cycle. There's something called the, I'm not kidding, it's called the what the hell effect. Yep, write it down. The what the hell effect. I love that. So, this is where dieters tend to evaluate their success or their failure of eating in terms of their current day. Have you ever done that? We've talked about this before, right? Where if I evaluate, was my day good or bad? Was I good or bad is based on my eating. Success requires getting through the day with no violation of our diet, right? When we're in this place of dieting, we deem our success if we didn't break the rules of our diet. Just thinking about blowing our diet is enough to trigger consumption of more food. Take that in for a minute. The thought alone has been shown, the thought alone of breaking the diet rules has been shown to trigger more consumption. It doesn't matter on hunger or fullness levels. It describes this restraint overeating cycle. It's this what the hell effect. Think about that. This is actually this was in 1984. This what the hell effect became noted. Think about that for a minute, that just your thoughts alone are triggering this overconsumption. Doesn't that make you land at the place of what the hell? That's always what I think. I say it in that way to myself, like, what the hell is going on? Why am I in this pattern? All the studies that are done, and there's even some on anticipation of food restriction. If you know food restriction is coming, it will lead to overconsumption as well. Excuse me. It's the diet starts Monday will lead to overconsumption. There's actually been studies done. It's called the Last Supper, and not what's coming up for Easter. The Last Supper, meaning, oh, I'm going to start this diet. So what do? I'm going to clear out the house. I'm going to eat everything inside. I'm going to overconsume all of these things because I'm not going to have those again. That has been repeated. All of these things, this restriction, this deprivation, to this overconsumption, even in the thought that it could happen, has been repeated over and over again, oftentimes in our life. I'm not going to have this again, so I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to have this again, so I'm going to overconsume, and we end up in this cycle. I actually want to share with you about the habituation effect. Habituation effect. So it's this circular model, and it starts with dieting. So what happens in dieting is we have a list of forbidden foods. What foods on that particular diet are forbidden? Think about a diet you've maybe done recently or a place of restriction you've had and what those forbidden foods were, whether they were bread and pasta, or maybe it was anything with fats, sugar, all the list of forbidden foods. So that's where it starts. It moves on to this place where you hit a limit. I always say everybody has that limit, right? It's different for everyone. Time or the time is different. How do I say it? The time is different for everyone on when they hit that limit. Everyone's unique in where that is. So it can be time. It can be just your brain saying enough is enough. Everyone hits their limit and you break. And what happens when you break? So you've dieted, we have our list of forbidden foods. We hit number 2 on this cycle, which is we break. And what do? We go into forbidden food backlash. All the things that were forbidden, all the things we couldn't have is now we are going to just consume them all. We're going to enjoy them. We're going to have them. We're going to have them maybe what feels like in excess. And what comes from doing that? What comes from over consuming or just having the food that you have already deemed forbidden? Guilt, shame, feeling like you have no control. Words like, I have no willpower. All those things that we were letting go of, the shoulds, the obedience, All of it comes in. It's me. I'm the problem. I can't do this. All of that enters in. Then what? And this is the part a lot of people miss, that this fifth part of this is this false evidence. You start believing again, well, if I'm the problem, I can't do this. I need to actually restrain more. I need to have stricter rules, different rules, try a new diet. And I end up back right at the beginning of this cycle, forbidden foods. How do I break this cycle? How do I stop going in this pattern? Dieting, finally hitting my breaking point, backlash with my forbidden foods, guilt, shame. It's me. I'm the problem. I have no control, no willpower. I need to restrain more. Back to dieting. How do I break this? So, like I said, part of this is the habituation effect. What really can stop this cycle right where you need it to is the habituation effect. So, because I think all of our moms in here are married, I can, use this example of, think about that when you had that first kiss with your husband. Probably was a long time ago. You might even need to close your eyes and try to picture yourself back in that place. Oftentimes, that first kiss is filled with butterflies, right? Like all that, oh my goodness, overwhelm of emotion. I always say, I was so gaga, like, whoo, lightheaded and overwhelmed with feeling that first kiss. And maybe even the first kisses. Weren't they amazing? Well, how many years have you been kissing that amazing man? Probably a long time. 2 years goes by, 5 years, 10 years, over 10 years, hitting about 20 years, and more, kissing that same person. It's not that you don't love those kisses. You still love, hopefully, kissing that person. And it still makes you feel wonderful, but it's not like the first kiss. That's the habituation effect. When you have something present all the time, when you have something repeatedly you're exposed to, habitually exposed to, it loses its hold, it loses its excitement. So, what dieting does is it has this restriction. So, for example, let's say you restrict any foods with sugar. Maybe specifically, I'm going to take chocolate, anything with chocolate in it. And that is what you're like, I'm not going to eat sugary foods, chocolate foods. I'm not going to have those anymore. So what happens? That food becomes very exciting. Now, you may not think that in your head, but I assure you, this is exactly what's happening. It's off limits, it's forbidden. My inner rebel is going to emerge. I'm going to want to break those rules. I think it's so exciting to have that thing I can't have. I never get to have that anymore. So when I do have it, woo, my whole world lights up. It's like that first kiss. The opposite, what if that was available all the time? So what happens is, often, like I said, in that equation, we believe that if sugar, if chocolates, I'm just using that example. For you, it could be pasta. For you, it could be any carbohydrates. For you, it could be anything with fat in it. For you, it could be any list of things that have become forbidden. We believe if I have that available, so if I have that sugary foods, if I have those carbohydrates always available, I'm going to eat them all. I'm just going to keep eating them. It's because they've been left in this place of excitement, of thrill, of your inner rebel wanting to come out. Now, at first, what I notice is, yeah, you might notice sort of an overconsumption at first because they still have the thrill. What calms our brain down, what calms us down, is knowing it's always available. It loses its luster. Now, it still tastes good. It's still like, I still like kissing my husband, but it's not like the first kiss. It's good, I enjoy it, but I'm not getting butterflies. I'm not um, overwhelmed with emotion. It's not like the first kiss. That fear that I won't be able to stop eating is because you've been in this restriction mode. We actually can't make peace with food if we have a list of foods that we restrict ourselves from eating that are not available to us anymore. I want you to think about what are your fears. So, do you have the fear of once you start eating, you won't stop? Do you have the fear that you've tried this before and it didn't work? How about the fear that if you have all foods available, you won't eat healthy? I feel like I want to put that in quotes. That word's been so muddied. Do you have a fear that you believe you are addicted to those forbidden foods? What about the fear that you don't even trust yourself around those forbidden foods? Do you have a fear at all that your friends, your family, those you're around will criticize what you're eating? Do you also believe you don't deserve to eat the foods until you lose weight? I bring these 7 points in because they're common fears, all that can be dispelled just like, you're not going to stop eating. I think we've taken some good time um, dispelling that actually has the opposite effect. So what I want you to do is take note, what are your fears? Is it about eating healthy? Is it about the belief that you are addicted to those foods? Is it about you don't trust yourself around the food? Is it about how others' opinions, those critical statements, would come in? All right, this is big. This is such a key component of intuitive eating is making this peace. I want you to go ahead, note what comes up for you this week, and even how you're feeling right now at the end of our time together here.